And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who is running for governor, continues his series of incredibly low-budget videos. This time, he shoots one in front of an EV charger in a supermarket parking lot.
In the last 10 years, we built 167,000 charging stations. We need 2 million more in the next 10 years. It's time to build transmission lines. It's time to do more than just talk about climate change. We need climate action.
Okay, I don't know if you heard what happened there.
There was a siren in the background.
There was a siren in the background, but only here.
It's time to do more than just talk about climate change.
And it just kind of ends. And that's because this 16-second video, Tony V did multiple takes.
Oh, I bet you there were 100 takes.
Because this...
It's time to build transmission lines.
No siren. This...
It's time to do more than just talk about climate change.
And then...
We need climate action.
No siren.
Yeah, my guess is he's not familiar with the cue cards.
He's the only one that is even quasi-campaigning at this point. Have you noticed that as we're now less than a year out from the primary, haven't heard a peep out of Katie Porter in a while, haven't heard a peep out of Javier Baccaria or all the people named Tony running outside of Tony V?
And he's also the only one talking about California issues on the Democratic side of the aisle. The rest of them are only talking about Donald Trump.
Yep.
Well, maybe Tony V is running to be governor. Maybe he's running to be the next Huell Hauser. I don't know. 800-222-5222 is a telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, it is the dog days of summer, the middle of July. A lot of people are going on vacation. Randy, you were out on Friday of last week. You were spending time in the beautiful state of New Mexico. I have a vacation planned later on this summer. You're going back on vacation later this summer. A lot of people are going to be spending a lot of time at the airports, the hotels, the amusement parks, the beaches, the golf courses, wherever it is that where you like to let your hair down and get a little R&R. However, that being said, when you look at individual cities throughout the United States, tourism is falling off a cliff. We spent some time talking about Las Vegas and how even though convention traffic is up in Las Vegas, overall tourism is down over 8%. That city is really feeling it. But it's not just Las Vegas. Tourism is also down in San Francisco.
Including in places where you wouldn't expect it to be down, like Fisherman's Wharf on July 4th weekend. For more, here's KPIX.
Tourism is a major part of San Francisco's economy and supports tens of thousands of local jobs. 4th of July weekend is typically one of the busiest times of the year, but as Da Lin reports, that's not the case this time.
Holiday weekend, nice weather. A lot of business owners thought Fisherman's Wharf and other hotspots.
This is, by the way, the second year in a row where that weekend specifically, the entire state was in a massive heat wave, except for the Bay Area.
You want to be cool? Go to San Francisco.
Holiday weekend, nice weather. A lot of business owners thought Fisherman's Wharf and other hotspots would be filled with customers, but they say that is simply not the case. They blame politics.
Yeah, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Hop on, hop off. Those big red double-deckers are hard to miss in San Francisco. What's missing? International tourists.
Today, we've seen a total of 7 foreign tourists.
7?
Only 7?
They each get their own row on the bus.
That is a lucky number, though.
Can you believe that? Just 7 people.
Sam Sohal, CEO of City Sightseeing, says most riders these days are domestic visitors, but even that number is down compared to last year.
This year,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not that kind of person. No matter where I'm traveling to, whether it be San Francisco, whether it be London, I have no desire to get on a big double-decker bus and just have the bus drive me around.
No. That has zero appeal to me. Zero.
This year, so
The people who go to Hollywood and Highland and do the TMZ bus, that's a different breed of cat.
You know, the one place I did do that? In New Orleans, they have the vampire tours. In the French Quarter, I will do those.
this year so far, it's about 35% down. What was really shocking was June and this few days of July. Is the bottom has fallen. Basically, we're 50% down. We're a little bit worried.
50% down, that's big.
Yeah, that's not an insignificant number.
I mean, we can probably weather the summer, but in the wintertime, if this is the summer, what's going to happen in the winter? That's what scares us more.
Bob Partwright manages 5 restaurants and a coffee shop at Pier 39. He says business has
Okay, that guy's loaded.
Blowing his nose with $100 bills.
He says business has been solid, except for June, when they saw a dip in overall traffic. He, too, is concerned about the winter months.
Adaptability and flexibility in our footprint is key to running a successful business. And we just have to be ready for whatever happens and be able to adjust as business levels adjust. Purchases have to adjust. Scheduling might have to adjust.
Some business owners believe national policies are discouraging visitors from Europe, Asia, Canada, and Mexico.
The tariffs and also the immigration policies trying to scrutinize everybody, even tourists. They go to their embassy to get a tourist visa.
They say that's part of the reason Union Square and other tourist hotspots are seeing lower foot traffic, even on a holiday weekend. We talked to a couple from Germany who came to San Francisco for a wedding.
Yes, people did give us weird looks when we said we're going to go to the US, and everyone in Europe was like, oh, really? Like, you want to go there now? But
You want to go to the United States?
He sounds like Augustus Gloop.
yes, people did give us weird looks when we said we're going to go to the US, and everyone in Europe was like, oh, really? Like, you want to go there now? But
risk it. Yeah,
it was
we
fine.
prepared more for sure, like making sure we had all our documents ready. And like, I think had we not had the wedding, we would have been probably not traveling to the US right now.
Business owners had hoped 5 years after the pandemic, this would be the year they would match or exceed 2019 levels.
It's a little sad. I mean, like, this is Fisherman's Wharf, and it's just not as lively as what it used to be. And yeah, I think it's just, even for me, I'm concerned about, like, political things and what's going to happen to the future in our business.
Sam says if the drop in visitors continues, he may have to dip into his savings to keep the buses rolling.
We would like Governor Newsom.
Might have to take a layer off that bus.
Yeah. No need for two.
We would like Governor Newsom to help us out with promote us tourism in California.
Maybe you got to buy an ad on his podcast.
Yeah, if he runs around South Carolina telling them to come to San Francisco so they could learn what their state should be like, I don't know if that's going to help your business, buddy.
Tourism in California.
Some business owners praised the new San Francisco mayor for doing a great job of cleaning up the streets and improving public safety. But they say local efforts simply cannot overcome national politics.
And the city is getting a lot cleaner in some areas.
Yes. Not the areas that I stay in, but in some areas.
So that's what's going on in San Francisco, Johnny. But that's not the only place that's seeing a drop in summer tourism.
And where else is seeing a drop?
The island of Hawaii. For more, we go to Island News Now.
Well, Hawaii businesses relying on tourism were hoping for a summer surge. But as our Kristen Concilio reports, many of them are still waiting.
It's supposed to be peak season for Hawaii tourism, but so far it's been a slow start to the summer.
Yeah, it's summertime. It's supposed to be booming, and we just got through June, and it is really the slowest I've seen it in a long time.
Well, have you seen how expensive the hotels have been lately?
And everything else?
Hawaii got really expensive over the last 2 years.
Not just like 10% up, but up exponentially.
State numbers show a drop in visitors compared to a year ago for most days in June. And tourism experts say the state's not doing enough to turn things around.
We're not marketing out there, and Hawaii has one of the best brands in the world. We need to put that in front of people. We need to get that into the marketplace.
Boy, I didn't know Hawaii has their own Fernando Dutra.
I guess every state has one.
The state had a record 10 million visitors in 2019 before the pandemic crushed the industry. Then in 2023, the Maui wildfires stifled a rebound in tourism.
This was the first time coming into 25 that people thought, okay, it's going to get better. The summer will be good. Japan will rebound and businesses will be back. But that's not the case.
It got the poke got expensive. Even the one from Foodland.
Listen, I went to Maui last year, I think it was, and I have my usual haunts in Maui that I go to every time I'm there. And one of the places I like to go to for breakfast is the Kihei Cafe. It has arguably the best breakfast on the entire island. I love that place. I've eaten so many meals there. For two people, that breakfast with tax and tip was almost $100. And that's with no booze and nothing crazy. It wasn't like I ordered a lobster dish or something like that. Basic food, it was almost $100 for two people.
I mean, even if you get your flight on points, and even if you can get your hotel on points, just the nickel and diming of having to eat out, if it's that expensive, that eats into your tourism budget for sure.
Well, you go out to dinner, and I'm a happy hour guy. I like to eat early and have small plates and cheap drinks. And you go to happy hour in Maui, it's $100 for two people or more. For happy hour.
Those monkey pod Mai Tais aren't as cheap as they used to be.
No, they're not.
They're damn good, though.
Industry experts say it's time to strike while the iron's hot.
With what's going on in the Middle East, Americans are going to be afraid to travel to European big cities. They don't want to be identified.
Okay, this guy's gross. People aren't going to want to go to Israel because of all the bombs, so maybe they'll go to Hawaii. What?
Interesting theory.
They don't want to be identified as though there's an American in the city. So people are going to look for safe destinations, and they're going to go west. What better time to ask them to come to Hawaii?
Before it's too late.
Over time, it will get better. But in the meantime, who suffers? The small mom-and-pop operations. A small person that has, maybe a dive shop or something like that, they can't survive.
So there you go. Tourism also down in Hawaii, on all the islands.
So the international politics may have something to do with international travel. We know that Canadians are saying they're not going to come here because they hate Donald Trump. And there are trade wars going on with other countries, and that's impacting their international travel. We know that there is unrest going on right now in the Middle East, going on in Ukraine. So people from those parts of the world who would otherwise come here, they have problems to deal with at home. They're not traveling internationally. But in terms of domestic travel, I don't think politics is playing the role that people assume that it's playing. I think it's the cost. You look at those segments that we did on Las Vegas and why people stopped going to Las Vegas, and the answer almost to a person was the cost. It was a place that used to be a cheap vacation destination where you spent your money in the casino, and the rooms were cheap, the food was cheap, the shows were cheap, everything was cheap, the flights were cheap, but you spent your money on the slot machines or the blackjack table or baccarat, whatever. And then they decided that it was going to be expensive across the board, and people just decided they were going to stop going. Hawaii is off the charts expensive. Everything is expensive there. Rental cars are expensive. Flights are expensive. Hotels are expensive. If you want to do excursions when you're there, those are expensive. Food is expensive. Even food that is regarded as cheap food. Breakfast at a place that doesn't serve booze, that's expensive. Everything over there is a premium. You have to mortgage your house to afford a vacation to Hawaii. And I would add, a lot of people in my social network are in the airline industry. During COVID, when flights would go over there, because if you send an airplane over there, it's not just an airplane carrying people. The airplanes also carry cargo. They carry goods to places like Hawaii, and they need a lot of goods from the mainland. The people who lived there were nasty as hell to all of the airline crew during COVID because they blamed them for bringing COVID to the islands. So they had a law over there that basically forced the pilots and the flight attendants to stay in their hotel the entire time. You had to get permission from your hotel to go to Starbucks, and you'd get yelled at when you were there. It was wild over there. And I know a lot of people who were there during the pandemic have very negative attitudes about Hawaii now. But in San Francisco, things are expensive. It's crazy expensive to go to San Francisco right now and Hawaii. And I think the cost, more than anything, is causing people to change how they vacation. I have a 4-bedroom house with extra bedrooms. And let me tell you, I'm basically running a hotel right now. People love to come to California, but they don't want to pay for a hotel room because the hotel rooms cost an arm and a leg, even off season.
Well, this is why almost all of my summer plans, I'm going to Santa Fe because my in-laws have a house there and the lodging is free.
Yes, I think people are traveling just as much. I think they've just found ways to cut corners. I have friends who used to go on cruises all the time. They're now retired. They bought an Airstream, and they now travel around the country in their Airstream, and that's how they travel. They used to travel differently. They used to go to the theme parks, take their kids and grandkids to the theme parks and do all of that, but now they don't because it's just too expensive. And you can see, by the way, the prices starting to come down in certain respects. I know that Disneyland, which got completely insane in terms of prices, now offers a deal at Costco where you can get, I think, 3 days for $450 and cut the line. When does Disneyland ever offer a deal? The answer is never. They must be hurting for them to offer a reduced rate deal over at Costco. The cruise ships, if you gamble, they will give you as many free cruises as you want to fill the cruise ships with gamblers. What's going to happen is the demand after COVID caused them to spike prices because they could. Everyone had money, everyone wanted to travel, and they abused their customers. And when the post-COVID travel itch started to wear off, instead of bringing the prices back down to reality, they left them up. And I think people just decided they can't afford to go to Hawaii, to go to Las Vegas, to go to San Francisco. So here's our question to you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Do you have a favorite place that you used to travel to that you now don't travel to because it's just too damn expensive? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Tourism has fallen off the cliff for Las Vegas, Hawaii, and San Francisco. People are not traveling the way they used to. Why is it that you're not going to your favorite city on vacation this year? For the people I talk to, it's the cost. The cost has exploded, and people are finding other ways to spend their vacations. What say you? At 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube. Get the KABC app. Get the KSFO app. Real easy way to listen live to these radio stations and download all the podcasts. You can listen to these podcasts when you're doing anything, including not wanting to go up to people in Oakland that are illegal dumping.
No, I'm not speaking with the people, pero you know, it's danger.
Tourism has fallen off a cliff for Las Vegas, San Francisco, Hawaii. People are not traveling to the places they used to travel to. For international travelers, politics may be the driving force, but domestically, I think it's the cost. Costs have exploded, and people just won't pay it. What say you at 800-222-5222? 1-800-222-5222. Let's begin with Bobby in Huntington Beach. Bobby, hello.
Hey, guys. 30 years, every year, went to Kauai. We went to Maui to a wedding last year and then on to Kauai. Never again. Not only was the cost astronomical, but the attitude of the people over there. It's like they don't want to be bothered. The service is terrible. We were at a pool in Maui at the Hyatt. Asked for Jameson by the pool. We don't have it here, but they have it at the bar up at the hotel. It's like, well, why don't you go get it? No way. There's other places that are cheaper and more friendly. We've had it.
I don't know what happened to that state, but that was my favorite place to vacation to for most of my adult life. I love the island of Maui, and I would go at least once a year, sometimes more than that. And I never had a problem. I always thought they were the friendliest people, the most welcoming people, the most hospitable people. And then COVID happened, and then they just turned nasty. And I don't know what it was with that virus that changed the demeanor of the people who work in the hospitality industry in that state. But it was like a switch got flipped, and it was 180 degrees different.
Well, and then the state put on a $25, and then they just upped it to $75 whenever you land. So they don't want my business.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Robert in Santa. Well, actually, no, that's on a different topic. Let's go to Jeff in Newport Beach. Jeff, hello.
Hey, John and Randy. Thanks for taking my call. Big fan of the show. First time calling in. But, I wanted to comment about the ridiculous prices. My godfather lives in San Francisco, specifically in the city, and I grew up there every summer. I'd go up there all the time. So I've seen it change a lot. And I haven't been up there recently until about 2 weeks ago. I went to go up to visit him, and we went to a Giants game. And I thought the parking in downtown LA was ridiculous, like for Laker games, but man, like paying $80 just to park, like right outside of Oracle Park. And even like Waymo, like looking at the Waymo prices, going one would be $45 just to go 2 miles down the Embarcadero up to North Beach. So if my godfather, had he not be living in the city, then there's no reason for me to go back. And thank God for him that I could lodge there. But yeah, it's crazy and ridiculous. Something needs to change.
And it's not just the cost of parking at places like the baseball stadium. If you look at the cost of a hotel room there, you may say, okay, this looks like a reasonable cost for a room. And then you say, well, what does it cost to park a car there? And they go $100 a night. And you go, now, wait a minute. It costs more to leave the car there than to leave me there.
Exactly. And even just like the $80 for parking just outside the stadium, it's not like it was a heavily guarded lot. So and that's parking still in San Francisco. So you're playing with your money at that point.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to David in Burbank. David, hello.
Thanks for taking my call. San Francisco, obvious. Who wants to pay money to be assaulted by homeless people? But Vegas specifically, I bought a slice of pizza for myself, one for my wife. I had a can of Coke. She had a Diet Coke. $54. Plus the parking was $40. These people are just brain dead in Vegas. They're driving everybody away.
Well, and it's not even just that. We talked about the parking being a hidden cost where they jack those prices up astronomically. But have you noticed this? When you buy something where you have to be the one that stands in line, you have to be the one to carry a buzzer, and when the buzzer rings, you have to go pick it up. You have to bus your own table. You have to put all your trash on the tray and then put the trash in the receptacle and bring the tray back to them. And they want a 20, 22, or 25% tip to take your order. And that's on the machine when you pay after standing in line. They've gotten totally out of control with the tips. My rule is I don't tip if I have to stand there and order it. Do you do that, Randy?
Oh, I have a guilty conscience because I was in this food service business before radio, so I tip everybody.
But now, wait a minute. When you tip a waiter 20%. It's when they come to your table and they order, or they take your order. They may give you suggestions or answer your questions about the wine list or the food or whatever. And then they make sure your water glass is constantly full and your Coca-Cola is constantly full. You need another drink, they come to you. And they bring you your food. They clear the food. You don't have to bring anything to the trash. That's what you're paying them for. If you have to do that all yourself, then what are you tipping for?
It's a really good question.
I mean, I can imagine leaving a few bucks for the busser because that person's actually doing something for you. But if you're the one that's doing all the work, I don't see why a tip should be required. Let's go to Scott in Norco. Scott, hello.
Hey, how you doing? I was just telling the guy on the phone, I work in the RV industry, and going anywhere was too expensive. So when the lockdowns happened, you couldn't go anywhere. We'd go to the desert, which is free with an RV or a trailer, and we go to the river, we go to Bishop, but that's the only places we could go without spending a lot of money. It's the same as like 2008 when people were buying trailers to live in or put grandma or one of their kids in the backyard. It's just too expensive for housing and everything else. But right now we're seeing a lot of new families buying very small beginner RVs and taking them out camping. Most camping sites are not really expensive, and you bring your own food and hookups are included, and you just have a better time not having to deal with crowds.
I'll tell you, I know a lot of people who bought campers or who bought Airstreams or RVs during the COVID-19 lockdowns, because when that happened, all of the amusement parks were shut down. Disneyland was closed for over a year. The water slide parks were closed. All of that was closed. You had the cruise ships that were taken offline. Professional sports were taken offline. A lot of things that people would like to go to or spend their vacation time on or with or enjoying or whatever, they went away. But if you had an Airstream and you could go to a national park or you could go to some different part of the country, you got to look at something that was different than your own neighborhood, and you got to bring a little slice of home with you. And I know a lot of people who bought those during COVID.
Yeah, I live in the Inland Empire, and the desert's about an hour away. They don't charge to park. Bishop, California is beautiful. Also, the Colorado River, there are several RV parks where you park on the water. You bring your own stuff, and it's just a relaxing time without the crowds and having to pay $40 for a drink.
Oh, and I'll tell you, even though prices have gone up everywhere, prices are still relatively okay at places like Costco. So you go to Costco and your booze is still reasonably priced. The food is still reasonably priced. The coffee is still reasonably priced. You load up on all of that stuff from Costco. You put it in your Airstream and you're off to the races, and you can have a vacation on a budget.
Scallops on a flat top out in the middle of the desert tastes just as well. So yeah, we try and plan special meals, have a lot of friends with us that we know we don't have to be around crazies because we know everybody that we're bringing. So it's just a lot of benefits. And in 2008, there was a lot of people that were, like I said, putting grandma in the backyard or one of the kids. It's happening now, but we're seeing quite a few. The low-budget trailers, there's not a lot of amenities. They're pretty small, but if you got one or maybe two kids, it doesn't cost much, and you get to travel. And when COVID started, if you tried to buy an above-ground pool or a trampoline, you were out of luck because there was nothing to do if you had to stay home. So we just tucked up the trailer and ran to the desert and spent 3 or 4 days out there, and it's just making memories.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Let's go to George in San Rafael. George, hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, good. I wanted to comment on particularly on the San Francisco tourism. I've known some travelers, including international travelers, who've come to San Francisco and swear they'll never come back again, and it's not because of the prices. Some have been business travelers whose costs are being picked up by their enterprises, And I know one particular instance where a woman from the UK, a wife of someone associated in business, refused to leave the hotel. This is what used to be the most beautiful and charming city in the whole United States of America, and people won't go out of the hotel because they're afraid of being accosted. They don't want to step in human feces. They don't want to watch people shooting up on the corner, and they don't want to get mugged. And that's in addition to the cost being atrocious.
I think there's a lot of truth to that statement, and I'll go one step beyond what you just described. I think that's a problem for a lot of West Coast cities. What you just described with San Francisco can be applied to Portland, can be applied to Seattle, can be applied to Oakland, can be applied to Los Angeles, San Diego, you name it. Even, by the way, Honolulu and Juneau up in Alaska, they have problems like that as well. I don't know why it's all on the Pacific Coast, because you go to Dallas and it's fine. You go to Miami and it's fine. You go to other big cities around the country and it's fine. But on the Pacific Coast, for whatever reason, what you just described, you will see in all the cities I just mentioned.
Well, those names of those cities that you mentioned where things are okay are in, Texas? And they're certainly not in California, in Washington State, or in Oregon, where we've had decades of one-party rule by the party of chaos, rebellion, and crime. And I'm more familiar with San Francisco. I know it's true in these other cities you mentioned. I'm most familiar with San Francisco. And in San Francisco, the administration, it's been Gavin Newsom as mayor and a parade of other nincompoops who don't enforce the law, who cater to criminals and merchants of chaos. And this is the reason. These cities used to be just wonderful, and they've turned into trash.
A lot of words of wisdom there. Thank you for the call, Sarah. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Tourism to Las Vegas, Hawaii, and San Francisco has fallen off a cliff. Why have you stopped going to your favorite city to vacation? 1-800-222-5222 is the number. Let's go to Edward in Lake County. Edward, welcome.
John, how the heck are you today?
Good.
All right. Hey, I wanted to go into really quick what I think is the key problem with these big cities, these metropolitan areas, and certainly within these states that have district attorneys on a state level that don't believe in prosecuting people when they commit a crime. And I really think that's what is a corollary to these negative areas. I was born in San Francisco in 1978, and my brother still lives there. He loves the city, and he insists that it's not covered in feces. I've seen the contrary, but really I think if we prosecute criminals for crimes, that's where it's a less inviting environment for them to reside in, and that's going to be a better place to bring your family on a vacation for sure.
Yeah, I think that's right. And what happens when someone comes to your city and they have a bad experience is they go home and they tell everyone in their social network that they had a bad experience, and word gets out fast. So you have one person from one town in Kansas that goes out to San Francisco and they see something like someone shooting up with drugs or going to the bathroom on the street, and they feel gross and they don't feel safe. They tell their friends, they tell their family, maybe they post it on social media, and word gets out fast. One bad experience will poison the well with a lot of different people.
And let's bear in mind, John, at the same time, if I can broach the concept, it's very profitable for someone like Gavin Newsom to have a lot of poverty, a lot of crime, a lot of drug addiction. These are things they can get funding for. And just like anything else, if they're not spending that money, they're not going to get it next year. So there's these corrupt funds that are coming through, certainly on a federal level, for these social safety nets that are being skimmed off of. It would be silly for Gavin to want to have the crime reduced. He wouldn't be able to skim off the top.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Craig in San Jose. Craig, hello.
Hello, John. The poop map.
I don't see any need to go to a city where I need GPS coordinates to avoid stepping in human feces.
Yeah, if you can go to a Caribbean island and sit on the beach and have a nice cocktail and look at the ocean and listen to a steel drum band, that
I
seems
used
pretty
to do
good.
that. I was the guy that did UPS out of San Juan. Very few turds in the street and almost none on the beach.
People do that in the ocean.
Well, if the tide's going out.
Thank you for the call, sir. All right, let's go to Steve in Anaheim. Steve, you got about 30 seconds. Go.
Hi, John. I just don't trust the people who run these cities. For example, L.A., San Francisco, New York, Chicago, and Honolulu, we have gone to these cities for years. And in the last 3, 4, 5 years, we haven't gone. And we haven't used the timeshares in those cities. We just go elsewhere. We don't trust them. What would happen if something happened to us? Because we're seniors.
Well, I think the experience that you have had in many of these cities is the experience that a lot of people have had, and that's why they're going elsewhere. All right, that's going to do it for us today, but we'll be back tomorrow at noon for another edition of The John Phillips Show.